Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journeys, encouraging folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Join us as we explore the journeys of women entrepreneurs in the food and beverage industry. Hello and welcome to Masoni and Marshall, the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. We are glad you've joined us today as we bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce.
And Sarah Masoni at Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center. Hi, Sarah Marshall.
Hi, Sarah Masoni. I saw that for Mother's Day, your family took you camping.
Yes, we did go camping.
Did you have an excellent time?
We did. We went to Cascade Locks, and that meant that we were close to Hood River, and we got to go to the farmer's market.
Oh, I've been to the Hood River Farmer's Market. It's a cute one.
So Ileana Mora was there with her butter, but as soon as I walked up, she sort of like screamed and said, "I just sold all my butter." So one lady came and said, "I want 8 packages of your butter." And so she sold all the last 8 packages to one person.
That's great. I love that.
And then, and her son was there. He has started a unique painting business where he paints with coffee.
Whoa. Like kind of like watercolor painting?
Yeah, he mixes the coffee with egg yolk and,
That's
makes
so cool.
The coffee as the colorant. So we saw his painting and then we were walking around and I told Michael, I was like, I really want that painting. So we went back up to him and said, "Hey, how much is that painting?" He told me the price and I offered him a little bit more. And he was like so excited.
You bartered up.
Yeah, I bartered up.
Good job. I love that about you.
Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. I love when food and art can be combined into things.
Yeah, and it even smells like coffee.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
You'll have to post a picture of it so that we can see it.
Well, I will, but you know what? I'm trying to put like food art in my kitchen. So that's why I was really excited about it.
I love that. I can't wait to see it. It sounds really cool.
And how about you? I saw you got some beautiful tea bags for Mother's Day.
I did. My family usually gives me food gifts and plant gifts. So that's what we did for Mother's Day. We went plant shopping.
Oh, you got plants.
I did. I got tons of plants because I had most of my garden is planted, but I was waiting to do a few peppers. Did
you get raspberries or blackberries or something?
I did get some berries.
Blueberries?
I got some currants. Some thornless raspberries and thornless blackberries. Because most of our yard is very thorny blackberries. But they're more like a weed. They don't really grow any berries. So
if they
got
do,
some
there's so much seed in them, right? They're just
totally. Yeah, not the cool kind, just the troublesome kind.
You made some famous spicy Marshall's Hot Sauce Chex Mix.
I sure did. Yes. If people would like to make my famous Chex Mix, the recipe's on our website. But we did that fundraiser for the Les Dames group. Our
how much did you all make? Do you know?
I don't know what the total is, but probably a few $1,000s. We used the money to send different people to different culinary outreach programs. We have a lot of women in wine in our chapter. So we usually send somebody to do some kind of wine education, and then we send somebody with you to the fancy food show. So we raised money for all of those things, which was great by doing a bake sale. There's about 40 of us in the chapter, so everybody made different items. I'm not much of a baker, so I made some spicy Chex Mix.
It does require baking, though. Come on, you have to bake, stir, mix, all those things.
Yeah, just a different kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I received actually your box that you bought because you
And how
gifted
was
it
it?
to me. Well, we have all been enjoying it, so thank
Oh,
you.
good. Well, happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out
Happy
there.
Mother's Day,
You probably
everybody.
won't hear this for a while, but you can remember back on your Mother's Day with
Yeah, just
joy.
know that we just experienced Mother's Day, even though it might seem far away to you now that you're listening to it. Well,
Yeah.
want to welcome our co-host, Mike Gabel from Colorado State University's Food Innovation Center. Thanks for being our Colorado expert while we meet all these wonderful new friends. Welcome.
It's great to be back. Thank you again for having me.
Yeah, we're
Glad to be
excited.
here.
Anything quick Colorado update you want to give us, or will that come out later in the show?
Not that the sun is shining. We've had a couple of rainy days, which it's great for Colorado. Build up that we had a good winter snowpack, and so just we are the gateway for the West for water. So we're always grateful for any extra bit of rain that we can get.
Yeah.
It's nice.
That is nice. I know. That's why I was waiting to plant all my things in my garden because we still got some hail like 5 days ago.
Oh, dear. I know everybody wants to plant early here, but there's always a chance of winter showing up.
Yeah, you got to hold off a little bit.
Yeah, just wait. Just wait.
Well, we want to thank our sponsor for supporting Masoni and Marshall. Thank you for helping us spread the word about entrepreneurs. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. The Northwest and Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center is the proud sponsor of the Meaningful Marketplace podcast, giving a voice to food from across the 6-state region of Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. The Food Business Center supports Northwest and Rocky Mountain food industry makers as part of the USDA's National Network of Food Business Centers, supporting a more resilient, diverse, and competitive food system as a go-to source for small and mid-tier food and farm businesses with a focus on underserved communities, providing education in the form of technical knowledge, business programs, and industry news. We sponsor trade shows, meetups, and conferences to connect growers, producers, retailers, distributors, and processors, all to stimulate business and raise the standards of our storied food industry. Join us as we travel through the 6-state region, learning more about food makers, food hubs, and food systems. Visit the website at Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Businesses.com to get connected. So we've been partnering with the Regional Food Business Center to bring you all these great guests from 5 regions around the country, 5 states around the country. We're meeting business owners from the great state of Colorado during this segment, and I would like to introduce you to Farnosh family, owner of Sun Ghee, making clarified better for better living. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're so glad that you could be here today.
Yes.
We right off the bat like to make sure to connect our listeners to you and your business. So can you tell us where they can find you online and social media and an easy way to connect with you?
Yeah, our handle on social media on Instagram is Sun Ghee Kitchen, and our website is sungheekitchen.com.
Perfect. Well, we like to start at the beginning. So let's talk about when you started your business and what prompted you to do that.
It all began out of this health journey for myself after I had kids. And, speaking of Mother's Day, I just had Mother's Day yesterday here.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, thank you. But, it was actually a part of that becoming a mom was a part of this like health and connection to food journey that I was on. And I really struggled in the beginning with just general kind of inflammation in the body. And I tried all kinds of various diets of, eliminating gluten or eliminating soy or dairy or, all the top allergens, and nothing really helped. So I just sort of simplified everything and got down to just like the whole ingredients with like, minimal or no processed foods. And a part of that was cooking with ghee, which is the basically oil of butter. It's the best part. You can use it to cook with, roast, saute, whatever, and it's lactose free and it's casein free. It's just essentially the most nutrient rich part of the dairy, and then I started to infuse it with different herbs and spices, and that became really fun because I could use spices for different flavors, but then also for kind of different health benefits too. Just having some of that like kind of cultural knowledge of those herbs and spices. And initially I just thought like, oh, it'd be cool if I could just sell this in like some boutiques around town, just as a like kind of fun like side project. And I didn't realize that you can't just do that with food, that there's like a lot more that goes into it. So, I couldn't do that. But what I could do was sell directly to people through, the cottage food ways in Colorado. And so, the very first time that I just sold the product was at a farmer's market here in Denver. And that was the first time that, someone who I don't know or I'm not related to, like bought the product and, tried it and liked it. And that's how I, started to build a following and also just learned a ton about what consumers want or what kinds of questions they would have or kind of, how to work with this type of product, even, things down to like the packaging, like what works and doesn't work, or the labels, like what needs to be on there, how to, just build a business that way. And now we've grown and now we're available in retail. Now I can just sell in in the boutiques. But yeah, we've grown from there.
That's excellent.
Yeah. How long did it take you to go from just selling directly to customers to then going into retail? Because we've talked to not many people in Colorado yet, but in Wyoming, what we heard is that in Wyoming, they just kind of stayed doing just the direct to customer. And so we haven't heard someone's story about the transition and how long that process kind of took you.
Well, for me, that first year, so this was in 2021 that I started in farmers markets. And that year it was just direct to consumers selling at farmers markets. And then after that year, after that season at the markets, that's when I was like, let's look for ways to grow the business. Because there are some limitations to what you could do with cottage food. So once you can move into a commercial kitchen space, then you can expand and have a broader reach. And so I guess it was about a year after that I started looking into commercial kitchen space. And, that had its own challenges too. And then, now it's been 3 years since that first farmers market season. And now I've partnered up with CSU in Denver, and that has helped a lot with our production. And that has opened up the door, just a lot more for wholesale and being able to be in more retail locations.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
How did you find Mike at CSU, by the way? Tell us.
It was pretty lucky. I attended a Colorado FoodWorks event that was held on campus and, just thought it was a cool and nice new building and a new space, but I didn't really know much about it. And then as I was leaving, Mike was just offering tours to people, if you want to just come through and see. And I walked into the kitchen and saw, the exact equipment that I would need to be able to scale up my production. And so that's how I just got connected with Mike and started a partnership there.
That's great. That kitchen is amazing, I have to say.
It's gorgeous.
Mike, is that how you generally find people, is that they come on tours, or how do you get the people that come use your center there?
Quite a few people that have just, happen chance come through tours. We're trying to get the word out as best we can, but a lot of it's word of mouth too. So we're very well networked in. I think we'll meet in a few weeks with Naturally Boulder, and then Colorado FoodWorks is kind of an analogous organization that kind of serves the same purpose of networking and really offering services to different outreach to different service providers in their networks. And so, lots through tours, but a lot through networking too.
And do you live close by to where the Food Innovation Center is, or are you in another town?
Yeah, I live pretty close to where that is. It's not a long drive at all. I'm in Denver as well.
Oh, perfect.
That's good.
Cool.
So we always see Farnosh. She's there with her sedan, trying to load up all her supplies and bring it in. So she just and you'll talk to this probably later, Farnosh, that she got some bigger contracts, and so she was talking about pallets full of things, and I said it's going to be really hard to load up, a pallet full of things in the back of your sedan, but we're grateful to see that she's making it work with the equipment that she has.
That is a lot.
That's always the part about scaling that's really hard, is like figuring out where you're going to put everything. And then when you don't have a kitchen that's your own space, you do have to haul things in and out. So that becomes a big part of your life as a food business owner, is that you're moving bottles and supplies and whatever it is. And I think even for people that if they end up going with a co-packer, at least how it works here is that you still have to do that, so you have to bring all of the bottles and all of the things to the co-packer usually, and do it that way. So either way, we're just sort of like pack mules.
Yeah, invest in a good wagon. That's helped me out a lot.
Lift with your legs.
Yeah.
Well, are you still doing farmers markets in your area?
We are. So to give you an idea of how it's grown, like that first season, we just tried doing 2. And last year we did, we were in 5 farmers markets per week, which was a lot. And this year we are scaling back down to 2. There are 2 kind of bigger ones, mainly because that gives me a chance to focus a little bit more on our wholesale program, which is growing pretty rapidly. So I want to be able to support that and not be tied down into too many other in-person events.
I saw your e-commerce links on the bottom of your web page. That was pretty impressive.
Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Our big, the exciting things recently for us is now we have a distributor in Texas. So we're in several locations in Central Market, which is really great. And then, some of those connections at the new retail locations that we're in are from our experience going to Fancy Food in Las Vegas. So that was a huge boost to us.
That's good. So the Fancy Food show was worth your time, I take it.
It was really great. And it was a great way to go in this incubator village because, we didn't need to invest a ton into the actual booth itself, which was good. You still had to get there and stay there, which is fine. But it was a great way to first experience it and just be in front of retailers and distributors, which is all you really need initially just to kind of get started. And so that worked out really well.
That's good.
I think too, when you do your first food show like that, like I don't know if it works the same way with the Food Innovation Center where you are, but with like Sarah, people can go twice. So you don't have to go to the Las Vegas and then the New York, but you can go to 2 different ones. And I think that's kind of great because I think the first one really you just sort of figure out what kinds of things people are going to ask you and what it's going to be like, because it's different than like when you're selling direct to customers. It's a totally different experience. Like I had done farmers markets for years and craft shows and all these kinds of things, but like a trade show or a buying show is like a totally different experience. And I think that the first time that I went, I wasn't really ready for it. I didn't realize how many people were going to come to me to try to sell me things just as much as I was trying to sell them things. And so I had to like practice the skill of getting people to kind of move along so I could keep talking to the other people that would potentially be buyers. Yeah. Yeah. So that was like what I learned the first time that I went. So then the next time I did a trade show like that, I felt like I was way more skilled at it and was able to like actually, close accounts within that show, which I didn't really do the first time. I just sort of like gave people my information and just talked to everybody a lot and lost my voice,
So excited.
Yeah. So
I know,
excited.
Farnosh, you're going to New York for the Fancy Food Show in June. And so with that, having been already there in Las Vegas in February, is there something you're going to change about your pitch, about how you talk to people, different strategies you're going to take on?
I think so. It was, like Sarah said, that first one, you don't really know what to expect. And it's a little overwhelming, just the quantity of people and all the energy and buzz of the show. But I think I'm going to change even, some of the materials that I'm bringing. So I've noticed that like, I'm not going to have an 8.5 by 11 like flyer or any of those kinds of sheets because everyone ends up just folding them and, or they don't even want to take them. Actually, some people would just like snap a photo. So I'm going to definitely scale that down. I brought, too many samples. I don't think I need that many samples. People don't really walk around too much looking for samples to eat there. So I learned that lesson. And then I think I get the like difference in how to talk to people. Like now I'm seeking new distribution and new retail partners, but like specifically going to New York, I'm looking for distribution in that region or close to that region. So like I know to kind of target like what I'm looking for a little bit more there. And like Sarah said, it's totally different than the way you would talk to somebody at a farmer's market. Those kinds of questions are not going to be, what people ask here.
Yeah, I ended up the second time too. We sell a lot on Fair. I'm not sure if you do that, but even if you have a distributor or a distribution platform kind of like that, I just had people order from my iPad through Fair at the show, and so that was like a good way for me to just kind of like close the accounts then. But the other thing that I did was just had scannable QR codes because I did the same thing, brought like a big stack of line sheets that I had made and I didn't need any of them. It was like a waste of money and time and resources where when I just had a QR code for people to scan, they could just go in and order right then. And that seemed to work a little bit better. But I didn't really think about those kinds of things before. I just didn't know.
Yeah. Those are
Whole
good
different
tips.
audience going to those shows, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so versus the farmer's market, you have people asking what's in it, where you're sourcing it from.
Yeah.
So distributors and buyers are asking completely different questions, right, Farnosh? So what was maybe some of those that took you off guard a little bit or by surprise?
Well, I think like the main ones were they pretty much want to know shelf life, like right off the bat, which makes sense. And then what are the retail prices? Not necessarily, what is my price to them? Because that will all change with like freight and everything. But they wanted to know what kind of range of prices does this product sit on the shelf at? And so like, would that be something that could work in, what they're looking at? And so that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Those are good tips for people to be ready for. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we want to hear about the different flavors that you have.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard. By providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together.
Wow, we're back, and boy, am I hungry. I was wondering, you talked about cultural connections when we started our conversation today, but also mentioned it on your website. And you have 6 different flavors, one of them being original. And I was wondering, actually you have 7, don't you? I was wondering, can you tell us about a couple of them, maybe your 2 favorite ones and why you went with the different herbs and spices that you chose?
One of my favorites is cardamom. And it's not necessarily our best seller, but cardamom, the spice itself, is just such a like connection to home for me. It has such a like uplifting flavor, and it's in so many of our foods, typically the sweeter foods, like in the desserts. But it works well in savory dishes too. And it's a great flavor that really gets captured in the ghee and whatever you cook with it. So if you cook pancakes with it or, bake something with it, or even do savory, like searing scallops, you really get this like delicious kind of buttery flavor that has this like uplifting tone to it too. That's one of my favorites. Another recent one that we've made that's just been available this last year, and also as a favorite, is the Aleppo chili ghee. And that one just has this like really nice level of heat to it. It's not a front of the palate heat like the way a jalapeno or another kind of pepper would be, but more back of the palate. And it just has a really earthy tone to it that really can kind of come through in whatever you cook. So it could be your eggs, or if you put that, even sometimes I'll just put it on top of rice and let that like seep in.
That sounds tasty.
I saw the tarragon one sounded really interesting too to me because I love tarragon.
Yeah, the chives, parsley, tarragon, that one is definitely one of my favorites. It's really herby, and those are just like very cultural flavors too. So we use those for sure a lot in like we do like an herbed rice that has all of those herbs in it. And each of those has some kind of health connection too. The tarragon has this kind of like sweet note to it, but it's been used traditionally for just being like a good kind of clearing herb.
That's cool.
We started off talking about Mother's Day, and so I have the pleasure of always seeing Farnosh's kids every now and then outside the kitchen waiting for her mom. Darling, two darling girls, and so sweet as can be. How important are some of these flavors for you, having grown up with a lot of those cultural, foods in your life? What's the significance of passing those on to your girls?
It's really fun to be able to do that with the girls. Another kind of piece to this is that I'm Iranian and my husband is Mexican. And so, for my kids, it's important that they kind of have that connection to both cultures and know that they are fully both. And also that they're creating something new and original, right? So we're not really like kind of putting anything in one box or one category. Like even ghee itself is a product that you would typically associate with like South Asia, for example, but it's really, it's been traditionally used everywhere from South Asia to, let's say, East Africa with traditional recipes over time. And so I've loved this like blend of cultures and foods and having that kind of mirror the movement of people with food. And both me and my husband being immigrants, that kind of movement is really important to us, and having that reflected in food has been really fun.
Do you provide recipes for people to cook with the ghee?
We're developing that on the website so we can have more, resources for people just to like refer to on the website. But when you purchase a jar, there'll be suggestions on the side of the jar of what you could do with that ghee.
Perfect.
Let's talk food safety for a second. Sorry to interrupt, Sarah.
You're good.
I was wondering, for this product, you're probably checking water activity. What were some of the challenges that you faced when you were developing your new products?
The water activity is what I have to keep an eye on to make sure that, we're safe and that it won't do anything bad while it's out there. I want to make sure that our process is going to always have a very low water activity, and ghee itself is just not really going to have any water activity on its own. But the infusion process, I'm introducing something else, right? So I have to just be careful and mindful that when I have infused it, I'm still hitting the temperatures that I need to, evaporating off any water that might be there, and, making sure I bottle it and cap it right, and just prevent any moisture from getting in. And then I tell people too, like, this product, our process letter says that, this is good for a year from production date. But really, as long as you just keep water out, that's the only thing that could really, damage the product. And having that be kind of like an educational piece that goes along with the product is important too.
That's good.
Do you keep it in the refrigerator or do you keep it on the counter?
I keep mine on the counter, but I also live in Colorado, so it's not really like hot here ever. I mean, it is in the summer, but my house stays pretty cool. But I know that in some of the retail locations that we're in, they keep it in the refrigerated section. And that might partly just be a like habit kind of thing for people. Like they're a little bit more familiar with dairy being refrigerated, and have that association a little bit stronger than really thinking about it more as an oil that doesn't need to be refrigerated. And, that's also like a benefit of the product, right? You don't need to refrigerate it and it can stay good for a long time, which kind of makes sense, like just historically, like having developed this way to use the dairy and keep it and preserve it.
I always wonder that because I do think that's what happens, is that people are so used to using butter that they just put ghee into the refrigerator and that it doesn't need to be.
It's so hard when it's in the refrigerator.
Yeah, it's
to
hard
like
to
have
get it
a
out.
chisel and a pickaxe to get it out of the jar. Yeah.
But it's just one of those things. I've gone over to people's houses before and, seen it in the refrigerator, and I've been like, you don't have to keep it in the fridge. They're like, what?
When I have ghee at my house, I just want to eat it with a spoon.
Yeah. Well, see, and then if it's out on your counter, you'll see it more, and then you'll be more likely to either eat it just
And
with a
use
spoon
it.
or use it. Yeah. Which is what we want, right? So don't hide it in the fridge.
Yeah. It's our public service announcement for today. It's safe to keep it on the counter.
Yeah.
What is one of the most unique uses that you've heard of someone using your ghee in Farnosh? I'm sure you've talked to a lot of people or heard some different comments back. Or what's the most popular usage you think?
Yeah, there's a range of stuff. It's been so fascinating, like working in-person events like the markets where you get to talk to people and hear about their use with it. It's fun to also like give them the ideas of like, oh, you could use this, to make your grilled cheese or, or saute your vegetables or your steak. Those are, I think, some common uses. What was interesting to me was, learning about what people in their families have used it for, or have like what kind of associations they already have with it or with the spices themselves. So like one was a few people who would come to make this like Scandinavian bread using the cardamom ghee. Yeah. And I hadn't like heard about that or like knew about that.
Julkaka is a quick bread that has cardamom in it.
Yeah. And so like I hadn't, from that, I learned from them kind of like that history and that historical use, and then that movement of cardamom across the continent and how that happened. So that was really fascinating.
Wow. I wonder how to be on the spicy Czech mix.
Oh, it'd be fantastic, probably.
I know. I want to order some of the pepper one. I'm going to try it out. It sounds fun. I think anytime anybody come on the show that makes anything spicy, I order it. So tip to our future guests, have a spicy product by the time you come on and I will buy it.
Good idea.
Farnosh, we've talked in the past quite a bit about kind of, scaling and kind of, process efficiencies. I know you were looking at even like upgrading your packaging. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of some of the challenges or the things you've experienced along that process?
Yeah. I think for most entrepreneurs who are starting out, it's really hard to do much or gain efficiency when you're at these smaller scales, like just being even, in how much of your packaging you're ordering or your labeling or any of that. And so, one thing that I really want to like focus on and is an important part of the company is our commitment to sustainability. And I think a part of that is packaging within CPG and in all food. And so, just to give you an example, even like the glass, we're all in glass jars, so we're completely plastic free. But even that glass jar, the label that gets stuck on there is coming on a plastic film, which, then just gets tossed. And that label makes it harder to actually recycle the glass itself. And so to truly like become the sustainable kind of company that we want to be, we want to upgrade our packaging to something that would be forever recyclable and easy to recycle and cheap to recycle, such as aluminum, which would be great because it's lightweight. And the advantage there also is that we could do a digital print on the aluminum itself. So there is no additional sticker or label or any other plastic that would have been associated with that. And the aluminum is completely, food safe, has a polymer lining in it, so there won't be any interaction with the product that's in it. And it also actually may help the product because not being in glass, then you're
No
completely
light.
shield. Yeah, there's no light. So there's no,
Yeah.
oxidation or anything else that can hapen. So it may even extend the shelf life being in this new packaging.
So you
Breakage and
found one.
shipping.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really light. I don't have to worry about, bubble wrapping it a ton to ship it like you do with glass, which is more plastic.
So do you have to have a custom bottle made from aluminum for you?
Yeah, so we're looking, we're working with some different suppliers trying to get something custom made, but then also something that could work in scale. So that's like that kind of friction of like, all right, I have, I know what I want us to be in, and now how do I match our process to, meet that?
Be careful buying
Okay.
lots of packaging. I always tell people you want your package to be a home, not a tomb.
Yeah,
You can
that's
tie
true.
up all your money in the packaging and then you can't afford to produce your product. And it's really a sad situation.
Yeah,
Just be careful.
that'll happen sometimes when you're doing custom work because you have to order, say, 100,000 packages or something
Yeah.
along those lines. So to
Well,
get
you
the
have to pay
numbers
for
done
the
where you need 'em.
dye, like
Yeah.
a minimum of $10,000 to $15,000 just to get the dye for the package. And then
Usually, if you shop around, though, you can find, people that will either do the dye for free if you order a certain amount, or people that have lower minimums. That's usually kind of the key with that stuff.
Still,
Yeah.
it's expensive.
Yeah.
But on a good note, so one of our olive oil makers submitted their olive oil from Oregon to a big event down in LA, and they won for the aluminum can that they used, which was like a beer bottle. So the bottle company gave him samples, and he just put his product in there. It was printed with the sample logo from the bottle company, and they selected it as best package.
Nice.
It didn't even have his logo on it. It was awesome. Just had a picture of a hummingbird. So I think the aluminum cans are maybe the thing of the future.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sarah Marshall, would you ever consider doing aluminum?
No, because the vinegar acid would destroy it, I bet, right?
Well, soda pop has acid in it too. They
Yeah.
just put a liner in there.
In the packaging.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen any hot sauce packaged in aluminum, but maybe.
I'd have to try it.
Yeah.
It's a wave of the future.
Yeah. Well, Farnosh, we always like to ask our guests if they have any advice for people that are currently dreaming up a business. Anything that you would tell listeners who are wanting to go into business?
Yeah, I think, specifically with food, what was a major contributor to this business was being able to start at a farmer's market, and that, is low stakes, kind of a low barrier to entry, and you can learn a lot and be open to learning in those kinds of scenarios. And then I would say, like, maybe if I had one other point, was to also network and just get out there and see who you can meet, because you just never know where connections lead to. Like, my going to the Colorado Food Works event, like, led to meeting Mike, which led to, my production, being able to do production at CSU. So you just never know where those kinds of things go. So don't try to do it by yourself. Get out there, meet people, talk to people. I think that's what worked for me.
That's good advice.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, unfortunately, everybody, we have to wrap it up. Any final things that you would like to say to our listeners, Farnosh?
I think it's really fun to be an entrepreneur. You don't have to listen to anybody else. You can kind of decide what's important to you. But, once you can make those decisions, reaching out for help can be really, really useful. So do that if you need it.
And can people order directly from you if they're out of the state of Colorado? Like, can they order from your website?
They can order from our website, from sungheekitchen.com. And if you follow us on social media, you'll see what retail locations we're in. We're in about 6 states now. So maybe we're in a state where you are. So check us out.
Gotta update your website.
I got to update the website. Yes. That's why I say follow social. That's like, easier to keep up to date. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll get the latest. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, it's so great to meet you. You're doing exciting things in Colorado. I know we didn't get to talk about the farms you source from and things like that, but of course, we love when our guests use local ingredients and source from local farms. So good job in making sure that happens. It was great to hear your story and hear about your product. And I will be ordering some very soon.
Me too.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We record Masoni and Marshall live every week. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform like iTunes. Thank you to our audio engineer, Lon, and our production assistant, Chelsea. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can send us a DM on our Instagram, Masoni and Marshall. We will be back next week, everybody. Bye.
Bye for now.
You're listening to the Startup Radio Network. Listen, learn, launch. 10% of our gross revenue goes directly to women entrepreneurs in developing countries around the world through Kiva's microfinance program.